Hey guys, what's up? It is Tom and Scott with BadCuzDad, and today we're back talking about Hogwarts Legacy, a game that Scott is super pumped for, as you can tell by the T-shirt he's
Yep,
repping,
yep.
platform 9 3/4.
Three
So
quarters.
the game, I think a lot of people have access to it today. We don't have access yet. I know Scott, you've pre-ordered, right? So you're,
Yeah. Oh
what
yeah.
date are you getting access?
Oh, I'm a lowly pleb, man. I get access on the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see your gameplay because I know you got a monster rig, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to see the ray tracing and all the cool graphics that are on there. So,
Sir.
um, but we just wanted to jump in and talk today. And Scott, you were really, I know, excited when this game was announced because first of all, you're a huge Harry Potter fan, right? You grew up with Harry Potter, books, movies, everything. I know now you're even sharing it. You and your daughters are getting to
Yeah.
kind of experience together, which is also a cool thing that I'm doing with Star Wars and the boys.
Hmm.
So that's a whole nother level to it. But tell me about your experience with Red Dead and why we're doing a video of looking at this connection between kind of Red Dead and
Yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy.
So when I first saw Hogwarts, my just initial hope was, please be like Red Dead. Please be like Red Dead, because everything that they were first putting out looked like it could and would be like Red Dead. And the reason I say that
Mm.
is because not because I want them to copy exactly what Red Dead did, but I knew that Red Dead had discovered the formula of making a immersive and almost perfect open world RPG game. Not even RPG. Red Dead wasn't quite an RPG, but an open world, story driven, expansive, just an incredible game overall.
And so you let me know, are you a big like Western fan? Is that like, were you excited for that genre?
Not one bit, man. And I almost missed out on Red Dead because I just am not a fan of westerns. I mean, I have nothing against them. It's just kind of it's not my vibe. It doesn't pull me in, and I'm more into the sci-fi and fantasy. And I was like, the game was getting great reviews since it first came out,
Mm.
and I finally was like, all right, I'm a big fan of open world story driven games. I've got to see what this is about. And from the instant I started playing it, I was hooked and just blown away by how good that game was.
They need to make like a zombie Western for you, then I think you'd be into it
I've
kind of
been
a
waiting
thing.
the whole time, man. The first Red Dead had a whole DLC called Red Dead Nightmare, and Wyatt
Did it
has not,
really?
yeah, and it was awesome. And Wyatt
Hmm.
has not been made for this, for Red Dead 2 beyond me. I'd pay full game
Huh.
price to have one of those again. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. But speaking of story in Red Dead, since it's not your genre, I mean,
Right.
obviously, did the story still? It must have been good because it captured you. You were, I mean, I
Oh
didn't.
yeah.
You were like out for like days, months. I don't remember when you were playing that
I
game.
know.
So the story was good. You were a big fan of it.
That's the thing about Red Dead is every element of that game is great. So the
Mm.
story being phenomenal and moving on top of it, on top of everything, was just the icing on the cake. It was the first, being really vulnerable here, Tom. It was
Uh
the
oh.
first game that ever made me cry at the end.
Clip it.
Like, yeah, man, it was
Hmm.
wow. What an experience. Like, it was an emotional roller coaster, and the story was just the acting, everything about it, man. I cannot say enough good things about this game.
So pivot this to a game where you actually care about the story, right? Like
Yep.
you're 100% invested in what
Oh
happens
yeah.
in a Harry Potter game or a Hogwarts game. Obviously, this is, set way uh, before the Harry Potter time, in the timeline. So
About 100 years.
okay, so that's, I mean, you must be pretty stoked on that, just to experience a story inside the Harry Potter world that looks like it's pretty good from
Yeah,
everything I've seen.
and what fan doesn't? And I think that the special thing about making it in a different time, not a different timeline, but in a different time period, is you're not restricted to the books and the movies. You have more room to explore. And as they've already shown now, there are relatives of the people we knew. There are more to the lore of Harry Potter to explore. Like it just gives you an ability to get in the world that me personally has been so fond of over the years. And I just, man, I cannot tell you how excited I am.
Well, I know we talk about this a lot on our other channel, our BadCuzDad Star Wars channel, where we cover, Star Wars media and shows and all of that. Is we like a lot of times the stories that are outside of the Skywalker saga because there's so much freedom for Lucasfilm to explore other characters and do world building, outside of that
Well,
storyline or in
these
other time
stories just,
frames.
they're so rich in lore and like just they're so attractive as a fan of this genre to just pull you in that there's just so much story to be told and to be experienced. So to go outside of that main line, the possibilities are endless.
And I know one thing when I was watching some of the early coverage on Hogwarts, what really caught my attention, someone who's not a single player game player, is though I am a fan of the Harry Potter franchise, when I saw the world, the open world kind of aspect
Yeah.
that they were going for in some of the environments, it's really impressive. I don't know, is that surely that's something that kind of caught your attention too?
Well, they said if you see it, you can go to it. And
Wow,
I mean, come on. Like
that's awesome.
an open world that doesn't encourage exploration, that doesn't encourage you to actually get out and be in the world, is just, it had no business being an open world game in the first place, in my opinion. So, I mean, that's just one element of it is the exploration, but that alone, it, it ups the immersiveness to a magnitude that most games only hope to reach.
Well, because it looked like most of the environments they were showing us in that early reveal footage of Hogwarts and then leading up to the release
Mhm.
is that these are like actual places we've seen in the books, right? And
Oh yeah.
places we've been to, and they were trying to represent those really well, and it looks like they've done a good job, right? I mean, from what you've seen.
Yeah, the footage of the actual school looks wow. Like in the reveal, I was pointing stuff out. Like, oh my gosh, I remember seeing that in the movies. I remember reading about that,
Mm.
and actually be able to just go and be there. I mean, come on, man. All the classrooms, the bridge that the dragon flew through. I mean, it. I'm almost speechless. Obviously.
So, an open world, though, it really doesn't mean much unless the world feels alive, right? Unless you have meaningful
Yeah.
interactions with NPCs and with, if I go to Hogsmeade and if it doesn't feel alive,
Mhm.
when I go to, all the different shops or you're in the bar
Yeah.
or whatever, it's not going to feel good. So hopefully it'll do a good job because I know Red Dead did a good job of this, right? Like feeling alive.
This to me is the crux of what makes an open world game.
The Horcrux.
You didn't just do that. Wow. But yes, the horcrux of the game, of any open world game, is that it is, and I've played a ton of open world games in my time. Even the most realist, even the most, sorry, not realist, the most recent Assassin's Creed. If you are in an open world where the characters just feel like robots, where they
Mm,
feel lifeless,
right.
that they're just there to pretend like they're doing something, it it almost diminishes the experience. I play these games to become immersed. I want to feel like I'm part of the narrative in the world. So what Red Dead did so well was making that world feel alive. The way NPCs reacted to you, the way they spoke to you. If you just bumped into them, you could get in a bar fight if you bumped into somebody. There were
Mm.
people that would rob you out on the road. There were all these small organic like interactions with NPCs that most open world games just don't do. And the two that come to mind, and if there's any Red Dead fans watching here, they'll know, is the Aberdeen pig farm and the Murphy brood finding you in Red Dead. it was a just I won't be too long on it, but there was a house that you could come up to where the NPC would legitimately get off the porch, invite you in, and it turns into this just a random house. They have dinner with you. They try to drug you. They try like, and it's so complex that what choices you make during that, during the dialogue, during if you decide to tie them up, no, there's several outcomes to this one thing that's completely unrelated to the story. And I know that Hogwarts is going to do something like that. And it's just when something so mundane like an NPC turns into something like that, that was one of the most memorable experiences in the game, like what else can you ask for, man? That's what an open world game should be. And from then on, that's I think when it hit me that wow, this Red Dead game is magical. It is phenomenal. And I think Hogwarts is going to do the same thing. And they also said that a lot of the NPCs will talk about what's going on. You'll hear about the impact of your choices in the world, and it won't just be mindless. Cool. Yeah, it will be magical.
Me seeing it, not playing either yet, although hopefully I'll get my hands on Hogwarts at some point. Is the combat looks, I don't want to say it looks like exactly the same, but it looks like you have a lot of freedom in the combat. I know you do in Red Dead, and so it looks like maybe you will in Hogwarts as well with some of the spells you can cast. It looks really complex. The combat trailer that kind of came out, it looks deep. Are you thinking they're going to be similar, or how are you looking at combat?
I would say the weakest part of Red Dead was the combat. Like, and it wasn't bad. It was simple. At times it was janky. The ragdoll physics were kind of hilarious sometimes, but there's only so much you can do with guns. You point and shoot, right? Like that's right. Just what it is. But in here, the spells are varied. There's like, you can lift people up, you can deflect, you can put protective spells on, you can use the unforgivable curses if you want to go that route. There's just
like a lot of strategy and counterplay to me. Is that what you were kind of saying?
It's counterplay in kind of similar to Batman Arkham Asylum, but I would say more complex than that because there's a lot of spells to use and there's just a lot of fun you can have with it. So I'd say dynamic is probably the best word we can throw in there.
Okay. Well, I don't know, guys. We are super looking forward to this game. I know Scott in particular, who gets access to it in a couple days, and hopefully we'll have some footage, out soon of our thoughts and impressions of the game moving forward. Maybe even look for some shorts coming your way about Hogwarts stuff. So I don't know, guys. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? Did you see a connection with Red Dead? Are you big fans of Red Dead 2? And, can Hogwarts Legacy be like a spiritual successor going forward of Red Dead? I think it has the potential. And Game of the Year, I don't know. I think it's got a chance just from everything I've seen early. Early reviews look really good, So we will see. I don't know. We'll keep you posted on our progress, and like I said, let us know in the comments. Are you already playing? What's your experience been like? We'd love to hear from you guys. So anyway, guys, like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. Hopefully we'll be doing a lot more of these types of videos moving forward, but I don't know. That's it. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Expelliarmus.
See ya.